Good morning, guys, from Singapore. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, appreciate everybody's support. Thank you for every single comment that you leave below the videos. I do read every single one of them, and when the time permits, I reply. Before I start today's video, let me just share with you the view that is opening up in front of me. Take a look at this one. So we are in downtown Singapore, and look over here who is being my company today. A family of a chicken. There's the Papa Rooster, and take a look over there. There's Mama with 1, 2, 3 small children. The third one is behind the tree trunk. Come on. There you are. There's the third one. Simply beautiful. The day is already nice enough. Very good start for the day. Anyways, back to the video, guys. So today I would like to have a conversation with you and tell you what was the process of moving from Europe to Singapore, the struggles that I had to go through, the thinking process, what decisions I had to make, what decisions I made, and what is the current situation. So 6 years ago, I went for a business trip to Singapore for 11 days. And 11 days was enough to actually make a decision that I would love to make Singapore my home for as long as the circumstances will permit. I'm being realistic. I know nothing is forever, but I'm very grateful for every year that I get to spend over here. So anyways, after 11 days, I made up my mind that the next destination in my life journey should be Singapore, and I started preparing for it. The only thing that I could do was make an official request to my boss and ask him if my position can be relocated permanently, not as an expat for 2 years and collect all the benefits and perks which expat have, but I wanted to literally move over here and close my life chapter in Europe. That was my goal. So even though, since I made the request, it took long 7 months to actually get a confirmation that my position is moving to Singapore, and I was able to move over here. Throughout the whole time, I was considering that there is no option B, and I made up my mind that moving to Singapore is sort of given. There's no other option. I could not imagine me staying in Europe. Well, I would have to stay for how long I would have to stay. However, I would just, keep trying. The first thing that I did, obviously, was I changed my location on LinkedIn to Singapore. So if my boss won't be successful, to move my position to Singapore, because it's a long process and there's many different departments, and we're in a large company that have right to say whether I will be approved to relocate or not. Even though he was supportive, it was not granted. So I wanted to increase my chances, and for that reason I have changed the status on my LinkedIn that I'm in Singapore, and I started receiving, emails, some invitations for the interviews, but they didn't go anywhere after they realized that at that moment I'm not even physically in Singapore. So journey through LinkedIn, in my case, was not successful, but I don't want to discourage anybody because I know successful stories where people were either in India or other parts of the world, they interviewed and they got work visa and they were able to come to Singapore and work for even our company. So I made up my mind that I would like to come to Singapore, and the first weeks after I came back, after my business trip, it was actually deep winter in Central Europe. And I remember this one particular moment where I realized that no matter what it takes, I have to move to Singapore. I was walking from my apartment to the subway, which is a good 15 to 20 minutes walk just to get to the MRT, aka subway. We call it MRT in Singapore. So as I was walking alone in a deep winter, just a few steps ahead of me was walking a gentleman. It was a guy, probably in his upper 40s, white collar job. So he was carrying his leather bag, probably office worker, dressed normally. And all of a sudden he reached out to his pocket and took out a package of cigarettes. And as he uncovered, the cigarette box has a thin plastic cover which you need to tear off before you can get to your cigarettes. So he tear off the plastic cover and as he was walking, he just dropped it right on the floor and he just kept walking. Back then I realized that spending 11 days in Singapore was enough not to change my mindset, because I was already pro-clean and I would never litter. It was something against my values. But 11 days was enough to convince me that there's a place in the world where people don't litter, where people would look completely down at you if you litter. Yet right now I'm walking to work in a capital of a country in Central Europe, and there's just a guy, based on the look, probably educated, going to the office, and he has no issues to drop the plastic cover of the cigarettes on the floor. And judging by his age, that he was above 40, I can imagine that he's been smoking for maybe 20 plus years. And I question myself, how many those plastic covers has he dropped before this one? Probably hundreds or thousands. So situation like this just made me angry, and that much stronger I had desire to come to Singapore so I don't have to witness something which simply irritates me. So as the time was progressing, I was simply convinced that I have to leave, even though I didn't have a paper confirmation in my hands. But I was so convinced that actually I went ahead and I sold a car. I went ahead and I have sold my motorbike, which I purchased only 3 months before my business trip to Singapore. The motorbike was Harley Davidson. It was a night rod special. It was a motorbike which just stopped the production. I have purchased the last brand new model in the whole Central Europe. in a black color. That was the last piece that was for sale. There was another one which the salesman confirmed it was in Africa, but I had purchased the very last one in whole Central Europe, and it was in Prague, Czech Republic. Before the winter started, I was able to put on this motorbike 450 kilometers or 200 miles, and then I parked it. I went through the painful process of working with the management of our apartment building to install the power outlet into my garage in the basement, so I can charge this bike throughout the whole winter so that battery doesn't die. I spent about 2-3 months going through different meetings and the approvals in order to be able to install that outlet. Hold on, here's a group of tourists that are kind of noisy, so let me just walk a little bit further away from them so I have some quiet space. Anyways, so I sold the motorbike in a spring when it had 750 kilometers or approximately 300 miles on it. The person that was buying the motorbike from me, they drove for 4 hours for the test drive after they saw the motorbike, and they saw that the tires on the motorbike still had the spikes, indicating that this motorbike was not driven at all. They gave me cash without a test drive, and the guy couldn't believe the deal that he was given on this Harley Davidson. I was willing to, give up this motorbike, even though I had dreams about this bike for the next few years after my sale, because it just hurt so much. I really like that bike, and I just sold it because it will be too expensive to bring it to Singapore, too costly to ship it, too costly to maintain it over here, and I would be definitely afraid to leave it in Czech Republic because I would be afraid somebody would break into the garage and steal the motorbike. So anyways, I sold my car, I sold my motorbike. Now the question was, what am I going to do with the apartment? I have in Prague an apartment which is still under the mortgage. I took the mortgage not for 30 years, I took it for 15 years only to speed up the payments, but as the result the payments are a little bit higher. And for that reason, in order to be able to move to Singapore and pay for a rent in Singapore and be able to pay for the mortgage back in Europe, I knew that I would need to rent out the apartment. And the journey with the apartment will be for a dedicated video, how painful it is to rent out an apartment on the other side of the world remotely, and all the struggles with the tenants and everything. I will go into great detail in the next video, which is coming up very soon. So if you would like to listen to this episode and find out about the issues and the problems that you will be for sure facing if you decide to rent out the apartment remotely, then definitely consider subscribing to this channel and turn on the notifications so you don't miss this episode. So I made a decision that I'm not going to sell the apartment in Prague because why? It's my safety net. If something doesn't work out in Singapore, I need to have a place where I can come back. I purchased the apartment 3 years prior. I was moving, to Singapore, and even though the real estate in Prague was on the rise, I still got the very good deal, and the apartment appreciated very nicely. So I had no reason, to consider selling, because the apartment was such a kind to me that I have decided, to keep it. But I had to make it, rent ready, which in my opinion required some upgrades. The apartment was 16 years old. It had original heating system, water heating system, um, and that had to be replaced. Since I moved to the apartment, the heating of the apartment was very, very poor. The heating units were just simply too small, and they were never hot. You turn on the heating, they were electric based, not the gas based, so it was not cheap. So you are paying lots of money for the utilities, yet your apartment was cold. So I have decided that I want to make it nice for the new tenant. I don't want to run into a situation that there will be the first winter that the tenant is staying in my place and he will tell me, hey, Robert, your apartment is too cold, do something about it. So I wanted to take advantage and fix the situation before I actually moved to Singapore. So I got in touch with the company which is doing this kind of job. Little did I know that I need to wait 4 to 5 months for their first slot where they can be dealing, with my apartment. So I had to make the booking anyways, because if I wouldn't do so, I would never fix it. But I didn't know then, hey, I have no idea when potentially the approval to move to Singapore will come, and I may not have enough time, to fix it. So this created a stress pressure. The walls in the apartment are dry walls, so if I will be dealing with the heating system, I need a company that will be fixing, repairing, the walls after the damage, because you need to have one company that is doing the heating. The heating company will not touch the drywalls. The drywall company will do the drywalls. They will not touch the heating. So I had to get another company to deal with the drywalls. I had to get another company which will be dealing with the heater. Excuse me, I'm still a little bit sick, so pardon my coughing. I had to get another company which was dealing with the water heating system. Anyways, I ended up to be able to finish all the work, and now I'm not making this up. 2 weeks prior my move to Singapore, sometimes I believe if it's meant to be, it is meant to be. I don't know if I got lucky, but it was extremely stressful and everything. And once I got the confirmation that, hey, your transfer was approved, they gave me 2 weeks. They said, hey, here's a paper, you are good to go. You have 2 weeks to move. You understand? I was given approximately 2 weeks to pack my stuff and go to the other side of the world. If I did not start preparing, and if I did not believe that my transfer to Singapore would happen, I would be stuck, with parking a car, with parking a bike. For sure, I wouldn't be able, to fix the heating and everything. It was actually a good decision if you believe, that something will happen. If you believe in yourself and the things around you, then you simply have to take the risk and, make the move. Obviously, you do your own research. I'm not a life coach. I'm not a financial advisor. So you do what you believe is the best for you. I'm just having a conversation with you and sharing my experience. By no means I'm encouraging you, to copy to copy what I did. Let me take a pause over here, guys, and let me just show you again the happy chicken family over here. I just think it looks really, really gorgeous with the skyline of Singapore in the background, the park, and just free roaming chickens around. It's simply beautiful. The whole area is simply beautiful, full of nature. Okay, and I want to get to the last part of this video, guys, and I'm leaving it, I was leaving it until the end of this video because this is something what happened I think like 10 days before my departure to Singapore. Okay, 10 days. So the Europe or Prague left very nice goodbye present for me as I was leaving Singapore, and that was that my garage place, which is in the basement of my apartment building, was vandalized. It was broke into, and the person that broke into stole my whiskey collection. Yeah, so there were not pieces worth thousands and thousands of dollars, but I think the damage cost was something maybe $1,500. Still hurts. I was collecting alcohol for a couple of years, and obviously you can collect alcohol only if you don't drink it, because if you drink alcohol, then you are not able to collect anything because you drink it. So my father, he was collecting alcohol throughout almost his whole year. He was very rarely having a toast drink, only a few times a year. That's why his collection grew. This was something that I wanted to replicate for myself and have my own collection. So every time I would go to a store and I would see there's a bottle on discount, I would buy a bottle which I don't have. And 10 days before I'm moving to Singapore, I go to the garage. Actually, I was coming back from work and I saw that a small window in front of our building, which is always closed, is wide open, and the window slider, which allows you to open the window, it's completely bended out, like forcefully. So you knew that something is not right, and immediately it struck me. I was like, oh my goodness, there was probably another incident in the garage, because they have vandalized the garage lots in my building for the past 3 years, once every 5 months. But because my garage was caged, I believe that I'm secure, and the alcohol was covered by blankets, so it was not visible. So I came to check out my garage, and to my surprise, the steel fencing was cut through. The 30% of my alcohol collection was gone. The guys that were taking the alcohol, they knew exactly what they are doing, because they knew which bottle is the most expensive, so they went by price. The most expensive bottles went missing, while the cheaper wines remained. And what is ironic about the whole situation is that I really enjoy fishing, and I had my fishing gear over there as well. And part of the fishing gear, of course, is a backpack. I had a big army backpack which I bought in the United States when I went fishing, and I brought it with me to Europe, and I was using it while going for fishing. So whoever broke into the garage took advantage of of this army backpack. They found it very useful because they emptied it out with my fishing gear, which was scattered all around the place. and they used my backpack to collect the alcohol bottles. So I actually did them a favor. I made it easy for them. So because I don't think that those guys would brought with them a large packs to carry on their findings. I helped them out, and my fishing backpack was very helpful to them. So this was the last bitter event which took place in Europe before I was moving to Singapore, and it was just a cherry on the top for me. And I knew that if this happened in Singapore and the guy would get caught, there would be severe consequences. In Czech Republic, it is a different story. While I was living already in Singapore, this vandalization of the garages were taking place regularly every couple of months. And believe it or not, about a year and a half ago, the guy was caught. They actually caught the guy that was vandalizing the garage, the garage basement, for the past couple of years. And guess what? They caught him and they released him on the same day, because whatever he was carrying with him at that time didn't exceed certain value, which by law is not classified as a crime. So even though he's been damaging the properties for a couple of years straight, he was free to go. That's the difference. This is the difference between Singapore and the rest of the world. And I really wished that Czech Republic would have the same laws as Singapore, because obviously I was not very happy with the burglar, and I just believe that he would deserve a little bit more severe punishment and not just being let go, because this is just ridiculous in my opinion. So anyways, this was my moving to Singapore since the first moment that I stayed over here for 11 days. It made me realize that I want to move, and starting from taking the business trip, I was doing everything what I had to do to prepare myself for the move when the opportunity comes, and it came. And I was very happy that I was working on this move for the past 7 months, because if I didn't do what I was doing, then I would be in a more difficult situation. I would be unprepared. My departure potentially would be delayed, and I don't know what that would mean, because very shortly after I moved to Singapore, the pandemic hit. Singapore was under the lockdown, and all the travels, everything was frozen for at least 2 years. So the timing was right. Everything happened for a reason, and if I didn't leave the country immediately when I was asked to come to Singapore, maybe the opportunity would never come. So I'm happy I made a decision that I did. I'm very happy being in Singapore right now. And anyways, that was my journey. So thank you very much to those of you that stick with me all the way to the end of this video. I know it's a little bit longer, but I wanted to provide you the whole story in one piece. And if you have similar stories, please leave me a comment below. I would love to hear about them and learn a little bit more about your journey. I always appreciate everybody's comment, and I will make sure that I will reply to them when the time permits. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for joining me during my walk in the downtown of beautiful Singapore, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.